people of Ghana, is your Nigerian girl pleasure, bringing you political news in this wonderful morning. And here are the happenings that has actually really been happening in Ghana. And as always, we won't lack in giving you all this news as President John Mahama, Professor Jen Nanopoko, and everyone in NDC are actually making headways to actually restructure, reset, and do everything to better Ghana. Please switch.
In Ghana and the United States, at least over the past 24 hours, following a sharp, exchange of words between Ghana's Foreign Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa and the chairman of the U.S. Senate Committee on Foreign Relations, Jim Risch. Now, the U.S. senator, in a pointed post on X, formerly Twitter, took issues with Ghana's debt obligations to American companies and questioned the foreign minister's decision to travel to Washington. Let's bring you that particular statement, which is there on your screen. He said, instead of a trip to D.C., Ghana's foreign minister should focus on honoring his government's commitment to repay U.S. companies and the American taxpayers. We cannot keep subsidizing Ghana while it continues paying for larger debt to China. That's according to Jim Risch. Well, but in a firm rebuttal, Ghana's foreign minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa condemned the remarks as, quote, extremely offensive and hypocritical, questioning why the U.S. had not shown similar resolve in addressing its historical responsibility in the transatlantic slave trade. Let's bring you that statement also from the Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, which he posted on his Facebook page. And there you have it. It reads, this is very rich coming from someone who refuses to engage in same advocacy for the payment of reparations by the U.S. for its despicable and condemnable role in slavery. And it goes on to say, you will not be allowed to dictate to a sovereign country how we conduct our foreign policy. If you need to be reminded, this is Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana, the first African nation to defeat colonialism and imperialism. Let me be clear, those measly debts compared to what you owe us in reparations would be paid when we deem appropriate based on our prudent economic recovery program, even though the debt was not created by the new Mahama administration. Unlike you, we take responsibility and honor our national obligations. Now, the global response has been swift. While many have applauded Ghana's foreign minister for firmly defending Ghana's sovereignty, others also criticized his rhetoric as undiplomatic, warning such a statement could undermine U.S. investor confidence in Ghana's economy. Meanwhile, critics of the U.S. have also condemned Senator Risch's remarks as, demeaning and an affront to Ghana's sovereignty that opens up the conversation on neo-colonialism tactic by powerful nations through debt. But on the issue of debt, how much exactly does the government of Ghana owe the U.S. companies, and what level of U.S. subsidies does Ghana receive that justifies Senator Risch's claim that Ghana is neglecting those obligations in favor of repaying China? Here are figures from our research desk, and you see the import-export graphic there on your screen from 2017 to 2023. And in 2017, you see our import, which was about 1.25 billion US dollars, as against 0.78 of exports. And in 2018, we did a lower 1.03 of imports and 0.63 of exports. Fast forward to 2019, it's jumped up a bit to 1.13 billion dollars, as against 0.98 of exports. Then you come to 2020, we did some 0.79 of imports, as against 0.75 of export, and it jumps from there all the way to 2022, where we had our highest exports so far per this graph, which is 2.83 billion US dollars in 2022, as against our export of 1.14 billion US dollars. Then it reduced in 2023 from that 2.83 to 1.74 of exports, against 1.05 of import in 2023. Now, the senator also spoke about some debt. So we checked up and we realized that Ghana's debt to American companies so far is around 2.51 million Ghana cedis. And you recall that the US ambassador earlier raised concerns about this particular amount of money. And so these are the figures you see on your screen. Now let's look at some American companies that the country owes. That you have Twin City Energy. American Tower Company is one of them. Global System for Mobile Communication, Cosmos Energy, as well as Zipline. These are a few of the companies that we owe that amount. And Ghana's bilateral debt to China, which is what also is a sharp, observation by the senator, is $1.7 billion. That's how much Ghana owes China so far. The figures we've been digging up so far. So tonight, the probe we ask, was Senator Rick's statement warranted? Could this affect Ghana's U.S. bilateral relation in any way, especially with the U.S. as a key development partner? And how can Africa mount a decisive pushback against such perceived colonial rhetoric? Now, joining me for this conversation on Zoom is international relations expert Dr. Ishmael Lovo. Also on Zoom, Associate Professor Obemfo Obadale Kabon of the Institute of African Studies at University of Ghana, and Ras Mubarak is a former member of parliament for Kumbungu and a lead campaigner for the Trans-African Tourism and Unity campaign. On the phone line is Nana Asafo Aye. He is the Deputy Ranking Member of Parliament Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration Committee. When we return, we get all the answers. Stay with us. On Foreign Affairs Committee, Nana Asafo Aye. First of all, these two statements from the Senator himself and our Foreign Affairs Minister. What is your initial reaction to both statements?
So I would first and foremost say a big thank you, and then greet my other colleagues, panelists that are online, Zoom, and then back home. So my first reaction will be that you need to have what Sanju said. Is there any time you want to get into a fight, you must know and be prepared of what you want to sacrifice before you win that fight. That should be my basis for some of those discussions. Now, one will ask that what warranted or necessitated the post, and I have seen or heard when I joined the line that you've done some good job by giving viewers and listeners the background of this whole conversation. So it has to do with the U.S.-China issue cut across a lot of places. They have to realize that there have been some fast loan payments or debt payments in huge amounts to China against the U.S. And they are carrying or importing their so-called supremacy or world supremacy fight even to any point or to every point that they find themselves. So the senator was trying to raise an issue about how Ghana is servicing its debt to China fast and in huge amount as against Ghana. That was the import of the post from the senator. Now, the next thing I will say is that when the minister saw this post, what should have been, for me, my thought and my thinking, my opinion, my response? Yes, you must first and foremost get some intelligence of what has been written. What is the background of what has been written? What will be your response? How will you respond? And where you will respond, for me, is key and critical, because it will bother across a lot of issues. One, across a risk of a sustained relationship. Two, it will bother across some economic implications. What three, it will have to do with some diplomatic relations. Now you are just opposing and pitching sovereignty against diplomacy. And you know, I keep saying, diplomacy is not emotions. And when you get emotions into some of these things, then you are swaying off the issue of diplomacy. And there is a level of tactfulness too that we must look. There were some issues or points. I am not against the minister exerting or trying to exert the sovereignty of Ghana and standing up to defend the image of Ghana. But for me, I think one, I would choose a different avenue too, and even if I would do it on social media, I would come with much more deep and detailed response that would even get a lot of people behind my fight. But what has been done, it is coming across to the American investors that it appears to be that we are not so much concerned about the issue their senator raised. Now, for you to even call back the deportation fees that have been paid, so are you saying that because that has not been paid, that is why you are also owing them and have not paid? That's what I'm saying, that the response from the minister should have been a bit more calculated and thought through.
So you believe that his response was not appropriate? I think that his response could have been put well in the light of accepting our sovereignty, in the light of standing our feet and fighting so-called quote and unquote, what do you call it, international intimidation, or some, the Pan-Africanists who want to show and come out stronger that, hey, we are Africa. In the quest to do that, I feel we could have had some better and detailed ingredients in the response that will put the message out there clear and straight than what was done. All right. You also touch.
Emotional,
you touch on repercussions on our economy. What exactly do you mean?
So you see, we are standing in a very critical and sensitive economic recovery phase. Means any loss of investor or investor confidence or perception of the investors would give us a lot of instability and might even end up weakening our dollar. You know how we are trying, and the government is gaining some credit on this dollar issue. Now we are recovering, and it is very important. This America, let us not forget that they are one of the largest, support base to our economy. And it is critical and important that dealing with them, we must deal with them and tread with them cautiously.
Okay.
That is why I'm saying that there is some economic implication on what has been written. Now, you are telling the investors, you are telling the companies in here that, we are not even interested in servicing our debt with them. And now you are also creating an impression as though because there is a regime change, you are not so, you want to shift blame. Because when you say that, because this is not, it is even coming from the old administration and all that, when you inherit power, when you take over everything. You take over assets, you take over liabilities, you take over everything. So that is why I'm saying that even though I agree to the point that you must come out clear and stand on your sovereignty, it is also key and important that you do not do that, rattling some tables.
Okay. I think the point is well made. The point is, how about our bilateral relations with the U.S. itself, apart from trade, briefly in 1 minute? Any impact at all?
So you see, with Ghana, U.S. currently, we are sitting on a bit of tenterhooks. One, they came out strongly to give some travel advisory. And in that travel advisory, they were clear to their people not to visit Ghana. And they put Ghana in a certain point of high-risk area. Now, the next thing was to give us an indication of deportation. The next thing was to give us an indication of ban. It tells you that gradually, our relationship is getting into a point that there's not so much, to the point that we are looking up to. That is why in my earlier conversations with you and your station, I have said that, look, it is long overdue. We need a high-profile diplomatic relationship or talks back room with US. That is why I said that when the reciprocal tax was launched, and the minister wrote on his Facebook wall that he has requested the ambassador to visit or to come and explain, I said that, look, you don't need some of these things. These things are, kids play. You don't need some of these things. You need to engage at the highest level. For me, I even proposed and wrote on my Facebook as well that you need to contact the Putus himself. You see,
okay.
Lots of areas, and the foreign minister should know that he does not speak for all the sectors. You don't speak for the finance minister. You don't speak for the president. You don't speak for, and I don't believe that the kind of response he's posted there was the response that all these sectors would tell him to do, and that is what is making it very difficult and critical.
Okay, I think the point is well made. Let me bring in Ras Mubarak. First of all, what do you make of?
Please do well to like, comment, and follow. Put on notification bell so you get all our news one by one. Thanks, my people.